What's up, guys? SonicDolphin117 here, and welcome to my third attempt at making a Glacius guide. My other two attempts did not record properly, so forgive me if I sound a little bit sore on this. I have written all the stuff I'm going to talk about down for Glacius's beginner and advanced strategies, as well as just some helpful tips in general. I'm going to be using Thunder in this because Thunder helps me show off everything I need to, though it might be a little bit tricky at some points to pull off what I need to. So, I wanted to do this guide for a while, but because Season 2 had constant updates, I didn't know how changed Glacius would become before the end. Luckily, it didn't get changed too much, so we're just going to get right into this since Season 2 is over, and I don't have to worry about balance changes for at least a few months. So, let's continue on. Forgive the brief pauses that this recording is going to have, where I'm going to stop talking, because I'm going to keep checking to make sure the recording's still going, so forgive me if there are a few moments where like nothing's happening on screen. Anyway, let's get started with the basics. Glacius is a character that's about zoning his opponent out and forcing them to come in on him using projectiles, pokes, and other tools at his disposal until he is forced to go in himself, where he can go for some really good things if he has the advantage. However, once he loses the advantage, it can be very hard for him to get out of sticky situations. Glacius' main weakness is the fact that he is not very mobile. His walk speed's only okay, moderately slow. His jump is one of the floatiest in the game under Omen, who has air dashes, so he doesn't have to worry about it. But Glacius is very easy to anti-air, and Glacius is also the only character in the game not to have a dash. Apparently, it was useless when it was first made, so they took it out in favor of more damage, which is my next point. Glacius has one of the highest damage outputs in the entire game. He can get up to like 70+% on a lockout, and he could just do ridiculous damage with a lot of his stray pokes and stuff like that because of the fact that singular hits do more damage. It really complements Glacius very, very well. I have Thunder turn on a wrong thing. Let me turn on hitboxes as well. Glacius's combo trait is range doubles. If Glacius lands an opener that has more reach than what allows at point blank, such as a jumping attack, a lance, or a shatter special, you press another button after him and he'll do an auto double. You can also use shatter to link auto doubles together as a linker, and you can also use shatter as an ender in these faraway combos. There are a few weaknesses to this method, though. First off, these auto doubles only have 3 variations. Both punches and kicks do the exact same animation. So it is easier to break. Again, shatter is the only linker you have, so you're kind of limited there. And shatter is also the only ender you have, which is still a good ender because it builds It builds Shadow Meter and has good damage, but still, that's still a limitation. He doesn't have access to manuals. The only way you can do manuals in this is to link a lance at certain points, which is really good up close, but in most distances, when you're doing range doubles from like all the way over here, you're not going to be able to do any manuals. If you attempt a counterbreaker, you will liquidize right up to the opponent and enter a stance, so you are still vulnerable if you attempt a counterbreak, unlike Season 1. And if you want to close the distance on your opponent, you can use a cold shoulder to turn it into a close range combo. So his range doubles are some of his best tools, as it allows him to do a lot of damage before even getting close to his opponent, and allowing him to keep them out without making the match run too slowly. Glacius can deal a lot of stray damage, like I already mentioned. Let's talk about his normals for a second. Standing light punch, quick jab, pretty much your standard quick jab, got good range. Crouching light punch, also very quick and has good range. Standing medium punch is a pretty good distance poke. It hits high, so it'll miss crouching opponents. And it's also an okay anti-air if someone's jumping. Like if Thunder jumps from about here, you can use it as kind of an anti-air. His crouching medium punch is a low attack. Heavy punch is a very good meaty from both range and up close. Very good at stuffing a lot of attempts and attacks. And Crouching Heavy Punch is one of his best anti-airs. Use this to catch anyone who's jumping in on you because it's got a really good hitbox, and it'll catch a lot of attempts. And it also low profiles Glacius a little bit because he's crouching, so use this. This is pretty much Glacius's go-to anti-air, so just keep that in mind. His kicks, I mean, they're nothing too special. Medium kick has good range, but the other two are pretty much your standard. They're not really that amazing. Crouching light kick is a low, but it's got pretty poor range. Medium kick has okay range, but it doesn't hit low, so it's easy to block. And heavy kick is an obvious sweep, which is pretty decent, and you're going to use it a lot when you're going for some advanced setups, which I will get into later. Jumping light punch is his fastest air attack, so use this to beat someone out if you're panicking. Jumping medium punch is a great air to air. Jumping heavy punch is also a great air to air, and it also leaves a lot of block stun and hit stun on landing. So use this to try and make your jump attempts a little safer. Although Glacius is anti-aired very easily because of his floaty jump, so don't count on that working for you at all, actually. His jumping kicks are where he really shines because he has really good range on these kicks. This is the light version, this is the medium version, this is the heavy version. They hit at very good ranges, and they're also openers from long range that you can use for range doubles. However, a problem with these is that they do have vulnerable boxes on them, so if someone, like, say, Thunder were to do a DP into your Lance, he would beat him out and Glacius would go flying, which I will show off when I show off the grounded Lance. Glacius's command normals are back heavy punch, which is also a really good anti-air that can also be special canceled, and also launches the opponent a little higher. It doesn't really have any more uses than crouching heavy punch already does, but it's still a good anti-air and something you can still do on a knee-jerk reaction or something like that. And his more important command normal is forward medium punch. Let me scroll down my notes here. This is one of his best tools as it has ridiculously good range, although it is unsafe on block, so if you use it too close, or even if you use it from this range, but a character has like a shadow move that goes forward really fast, like a wind kick, they can punish this on block. So you need to make sure you cancel into either a hail for added defense, a shatter for a mix-up, or a cold shoulder to make it safe. So just keep that in mind. It also has a vulnerable box on it, so let me show you. This might take me a few tries, but let me show you what I mean by a vulnerable box. So let me have Thunder jump and then do a light DP so I can tell when he's going to do it. See what I mean? I was nowhere near him, but because I threw it a lance, when he uppercutted into it, it still counts. So you got to keep that in mind. And yeah, that's something. This is a move that you should use a lot because it keeps Glacius at distance and also allows you to set up your offense. But be careful when you use it because it is easily punishable. And if someone jumps over it, or if like TJ rolls under it, it is pretty punishable. So don't just throw this out all the time, but just make sure that you utilize the tool well. All right. Let me check the recording. Alright, looks like everything's going just fine. Alright then. Actually, let me fix something. I'm sorry about this, guys, but I need to fix this. Okay, now the mic volume's a little bit higher. I just want to make sure that's working just fine. So now I'm going to talk about Glacius' specials. Core Circle Back Punch is a hail. This spawns a projectile that you can hold over your head for a set period of time. I believe it's like 3 to 4 seconds maybe. But you can release it at any point during that time. The light version is the one you're seeing right now, which allows it to fall right in front of him. The medium version goes a little farther and also bounces on the ground like the light version. And the heavy punch goes far enough to hit the opponent full screen, but it does not bounce. This is probably Glacius' best move, period. His Hails disappear for a few reasons. One, they hit the opponent, obviously. Two, they wear out their welcome and bounce on the floor too many times. Or the third one is when they go off screen. So be careful, don't approach too fast, because you will lose your backup. So make sure you time a good approach right. But one thing that's amazing about it is that it doesn't disappear if you get hit. So let me have Thunder do a triple X, just a simple triple X. I'm going to spawn a hail over my head. It didn't disappear, and it punishes his combo. Guess what that means? You can do your own stuff. It also doesn't switch directions if an opponent jumps over you. Yeah, you can start your own combo off that. So that's why hails are so good for defense, because it keeps people from going in on you too hard. Of course, and if an opponent has a projectile invincible move that pushes you forward, which is pretty much almost every character in the game, they might be able to pass by the hail, so still be wary that it's not a perfect tool, just a really effective one. This move can also be used for anti-airs to protect your head from characters like Sadira and stuff like that. It also prevents a lot of people from jumping over you. What else? And you can also use it just for simple zoning, because you can release it at any time. A lot of Glacius mirrors all come down to whether or not which Glacius has a hail over their head. That's literally what it all comes down to, because the other one's pretty much forced to be patient. Also, hails are good for ridiculously awesome setups, which I will explain late in this video. Hail during a combo can only be used as an ender. There's no linker version, and it's basically a ground bounce ender that you can also chain into juggles or hard knockdowns, depending on whatever you want to do. And again, that's really, really potent for setups that I will talk about late in the video, like I mentioned. The shadow version of hail sends out a bunch of hails in about an arc forward. Well, not an arc, but like it sends them all at different angles forward to create sort of a wall in front of Glacius. And what's really good about this is that it's pretty much the best anti-air in the game, because if someone's over your head, like let me have Thunder jump around a little bit. Let's jump over my head a few times. Guess what? Even if he's almost crossing me up, it still works. This is perfect for Sadira, by the way. Like, if Sadira's approaching you, guess what? Over your head, there's pretty much no way she's going to hit you unless you time it really, really poorly. This can be used as a linker in a combo. It's also sort of his hardest to break linker, because it's sort of, it sort of starts up a little bit slower than his other ones. So people will often try to mash the breaker, but they'll end up missing it right before the hail hits them. So that's really good. It's also great for special canceling. So let me have this guy block. So I do an unsafe DP, and then I can cancel it. Well, wrong move. Oh my god, I don't know why this happens. Okay, really, Glacius? I'm not pressing that input. Damn it! Do I need to go through this a few times? Yeah, there you go. So, you can make a lot of your stuff a little bit safer. Although, of course, people can and will do projectile invincible moves to go through it if you're not careful, which is pretty much all the time for me. But yeah, the shadow version, also great for juggles as well, since it adds no KV. Very, very, very good tool. The next move Glacius has is Shatter, which is Core Circle Forward Punch. This is an unblockable pillar attack that tracks from the ground, although it will not hit aerial opponents. The light version hits right in front of them, the medium version goes out a little further, and the heavy version goes almost full screen. Not in, like, about like 2/3 of screen length. But that's still a really long distance. And this move, because this move is unblockable, it's very, very good for dirty setups, like such as this. Like, most people will knee-jerk reaction to jump over the Shatter, because it is punishable on startup. It does have a relatively slow startup. It's about as long as Omen's Demonic Despair grab. Like, that's how long it takes to start up. I mean, that's somewhat fast, but that's still, you know, an amount of time that can be reacted. You can manual into any strength off these. That's important to note. Whoops, I'm doing it wrong. It does count as an opener. It can also be used in ranged combos. The Ender version builds Shadow Meter and also does pretty decent damage, as well as launch people for combos at higher Ender levels, including a Lance for counterbreaker bait and stuff like that. As a linker, this move is his fastest linker. See, that's how quick it is. It's very, very quick, and also does decent damage as well. The Shadow Shatter version is an Ender. It cashes out damage, even from full screen. One thing I should also note is that light ranged autos push people forward, medium keeps them in place, and heavy pushes them away, as you can see. So keep that in mind when you're doing ranged combos. And Shadow Shatter tracks on the ground no matter where the opponent is. Even if they're all the way across the screen, it will still track them and hits 5 times. It's also safe on block, though it is shadow counterable pretty easily. And because it'll hit people in the air, unlike the normal version has the advantage of being unblockable, while the Shadow Shatter has the advantage of being able to hit people in the air. It's not unblockable, unfortunately, although that would be ridiculously broken. Use this to punish dashes from full screen as well as jumps, because that's really, really important. It's pretty much like, oh, you're jumping, Shadow Shatter, push back to full screen, and you can set up your offense again, which is very, very good tool. That's something I cannot say enough. Cold Shoulder is the next move, which is Quarter Circle Back Kick. This move charges Glacius forward at a very, very fast speed. And it is safe on block, though it is negative. At least most of them are. The light version goes forward a little bit and starts up very fast. Medium version goes a little further, but it starts up slower. And heavy version starts up the longest, but it goes really, really far. This move is fantastic for catching people off guard. Like, people could just, like, you can, like, catch, like, dashes coming in. You can catch, like, run-in attempts, like Saberwolf's running at you. Because he can't cancel that with, like, a block, he can just throw this out. And most Saberwolves aren't going to be fast enough to react to that. Very, very good. And while the move is, I mentioned it's negative on block, but it has an added advantage, is that the further away you are when you activate the attack, like that's a heavy up close, and that's a heavy far away. It pushes them a little bit further back. It's not that noticeable, but in the match, it's pretty much vital, because a lot of characters don't have the range normals that Glacius does. Again, Standing Medium Punch is a perfect follow-up to this, because it allows you to just charge in. It's a little more negative. It's a little less negative because they're further away and they can't start their offense on you. And that allows you to do some insane stuff. So like I just said, the further away you are when you activate the move to when you hit the opponent on block is the further their pushback is. So again, that's really good for setting up, for giving Glacius a little bit of breathing room. So let me turn block off. There we go. The linker version is Glacius's corner carry linker. It allows you to pretty much push them across the screen at a pretty fast pace. And like you just saw, the Ender version is a wall splat, which you can chain into other ridiculous stuff. Very, very high potential for that. Shadow Cold Shoulder hits 5 times extremely fast and is projectile invincible. However, it is very easy to break because it is effectively mash timing. People can just mash your way out, but it's great for adding very quick damage during lockouts or for counterbreaker bait, whichever you so choose. And next we have Puddle Punch, which is Quarter Circle Forward Kick. This is his reversal. It is invincible on startup. However, it is vulnerable on the way up. So people who have quick reaction time or people who are stuffing you with meaties will often hit you out of this. So it can be a little bit useless in some situations, especially against Riptor and Aghanos. Like, they have moves that like have huge hitboxes that will most likely beat your Puddle Punch out. So you got to be careful. You can't just throw this out all the time. This move is also very unsafe on block. It is a DP after all. You can special cancel it, just like almost every other DP, but it is unsafe on block. Strength changes startup time. Light punch is very fast. Medium punch, heavy. The light and medium versions actually keep the opponent grounded so you can start a combo. So that's really, really potent. It's pretty much one of the only DPs in the game that actually allows you to start a full grounded combo off him. And the heavy kick version launches them, which can be chained, although that's breakable right there. So make sure you utilize each one correctly. This move is a very, very good anti-air for 2 reasons, and I'll explain them as I cause this guy to jump. So you may be wondering what I mean. So you can just use this as a simple anti-air, no harm, no foul. I mean, it's pretty effective that way. Like I said, you just saw his kick stuffed me right there. The heavy kick version is probably his most effective, simple anti-air version. Why is he kicking me? This is not what I told him to do. But what's really good is this thing right there, which is to catch them on their trip guard frames, which is basically the added recovery frames that they get on landing if they do an attack in midair. Okay, really, Thunder? Enough. And basically, that allows you to get a full combo punish, because if you time it just right, you go under their aerial, and you punish them on the ground for a full combo. That's very, very, very potent. So if you have the patience, go for it. Like, if you expect to jump in, wait for them to do an attack, puddle punch right under it, and you can punish them for a full grounded combo. Very, very, very good. So this tool is really, really, really potent as well. The linker version is Glacius' most damaging linker. So use this during lockouts and counter breakers. So let me reset. And the damage ender version, which is pretty much a spoil, is basically it's his damage ender. You can use it to cash out the most damage out of anything else you have, and also sets up a little bit of juggle potential on the level 4 version. You can throw out a lance there, I believe, but it's kind of tricky. Although lances are great counterbreaker bait. The Shadow version has slightly more invincibility than its previous one. You can also follow up with juggles. And one thing I love to do is I love to chain a lance after into a counterbreaker, because a lot of people fall for that because they panic and try to break whatever they can. Not high-level players, but just people in general. Although high-level players do it sometimes as well. And this also cashes out the most damage as an ender, as you could probably tell. That's a lot. Finally, we have Glacius' Liquid Eyes, which is by pressing all 3 kick buttons. And Glacius can submerge under the ground for about 1.5 seconds, maybe a little bit less. You can move around in this. You can move around decently fast. The move is immune to projectiles only on the way down. It's completely invulnerable while submerged and can even pass through opponents, like this, for some really crazy setups. And it also is completely vulnerable on the way up. So if someone sees you doing Liquid Eyes and you're not protected, they're just going to grab you right here. Like where I grabbed him, most people are going to grab you, because it's vulnerable on the way up. So, and because of the fact that it's only projectile invulnerable on the way down, this cannot be used as an effective reversal most of the time. So just keep that in mind. I mean, you do recover very fast from it. I mean, you can come up very fast from the attack, but it's still punishable if the opponent has quick fingers and good lifespan. But what this really... Well, not lifespan. Why did I say that? Good reaction time. But what's really good about this is that it allows Glacius to avoid enemy zoning, because he can easily sink under fireballs and even throw out a hail. Like, you can hold a hail over your head while you're under the ground and release it whenever you want. So you can literally, like, if someone's throwing a fireball, go under the fireball and release the hail at the same time. So basically, this is used to keep Glacius probably the zoning king out of any matchup besides Kan-Ra. I mean, if Glacius has the life lead, he can literally just spend the whole match summoning hails and just dodging projectiles with Liquid Eyes. Although, people will eventually get in on you, and then you're going to have to deal with them. So, Liquid Eyes isn't great for, like, keeping someone at bay. It's just good for holding your ground, which I think is really important with Glacius, is holding your ground. Glacius's throw. His throw is actually really good because it pushes people away at a set distance and keeps them standing, which gives you some breathing room in order to do some setups and stuff like that. If you play Omen, his throw pretty much works exactly the same. However, in the corner, it can actually be linked up with any manual. So let me show you. You can do any strength manual off it. So I just did heavy, that's medium, that's light. You can also go for a second throw. And you can also go for sweeps for hard knockdown setups, which I'll get into. Very, very good throw. And it also has pretty decent throw range as well. So keep that in mind as well. Although I think it would be awesome if Glacius got that icy grip from Killer Instinct 2. Whatever, he doesn't need buffs. But I'm just saying, just throwing that out there. And finally, we have Glacius's Instinct. Let me turn on full Instinct, Infinite Instinct. There we go. Glacius's Instinct gives him a hit of armor, and this allows him to pretty much absorb one hit before getting hit again. So I'm using Thunder right now, and the armor absorbs one hit before taking more, but it does not stop whatever Glacius does. However, if someone grabs him, or if Asako does a counter, you can do a combo off it without removing the armor, and if Glacius is combo broken, then the armor also comes off. What's really good about this Instinct is that it allows him to absorb a hit while putting on the pressure. So let me get my armor back. He hits me once, I can still just cold shoulder right through it and just break it off. And because of that, this really helps Glacius's offense. And a lot of people are just going to run away from Glacius when he's in his Instinct because they don't want to deal with this. It's very, very effective. You see that little number under Glacius's icon on the top left? That's the amount of armors you have. But unless you are the most reckless player alive, there's no way you're going to use all those armor up before your Instinct is over. So keep that in mind. Another thing that's also kind of weird about this is that his shadow counter active frame length is longer if you have armor on you. So let me explain what I mean. So under normal circumstances, shadow counter stances last about 10 frames. So yeah, you have to have really good timing under normal circumstances. Look at that! Did that look like 10 frames to you? Because it didn't to me. It did not at all to me. Like, that's really kind of funny. I don't see how that's useful in terms of strategy. It just kind of happens. But that was recently discovered, and that's kind of really, really weird. So, I'm going to check the recording again. Okay, thank God it's still going smoothly. Alright, now time for some cool advanced stuff. Yay! Alright, so let me talk about some really cool shatter resets. Basically, one thing that you can do is do a medium shatter as a linker, or pretty much any shatter, and then do a manual into another shatter to exit the combo, because shatter is a really, really good reset tool. When you drop a combo, you want to go right into shatter, because a lot of people will just sit there and block when you're trying to break a combo. And because this is unblockable, you can probably connect the dots as to why this is useful. One thing I like doing is medium shatter to a heavy manual attempt, although heavy manuals aren't possible after medium linkers. And then you do a shatter after, so something like this. That's my preferred method of doing that. And shatter resets are very potent and very powerful. You can even do it from full screen, kind of. Like, you can just do one shatter and then just throw out another one instead of continuing the combo. People get fooled by that all the time. It's actually kind of funny in a lot of ways. But dropping combos for shatter resets, really, really important. Another thing that's really good is hail overheads. So let me explain what I mean by that. Glacius can do overheads if you time hails right, which is basically really hard. You got to do a jump attack and then time a hail perfectly, as you saw right there. Basically, you can link a jump attack to a hail to a grounded attack and pretty much give Glacius an overhead mix-up, which is really, really powerful. If you know how to do it, which I don't. I'm going to be straight up honest. But yeah, he does have an overhead mix-up if you know how to connect hails. Let me talk about hail cancels, which is something that I recently discovered, though I think it's been known for a while. That if you summon a hail and it hits someone, and you summon a hail right after it hits the opponent, you can actually do a shadow move during the recovery, like the startup frames of your second hail, and cancel the startup, which allows you to do some really interesting hail combos, and even this one unbreakable right here. So I summon this, cancel. I actually did it wrong, so let me show. That's 30% unbreakable 2 meters. So that's done through hail canceling. Another really fun thing through hail canceling is actual combos. Whoops, wrong way. Yeah, you can do stuff like that. You can even just cancel hails and just go for manual links. You can also link 2 manuals together by doing this. So you can do like this, down, down, something like that. It's sort of hard, tricky to pull off. You gotta have good coordination and good timing in order to pull it off. As you can see, I'm struggling with it right now. But another really cool thing that you can do with this, and by the way, this is also a really funny thing to do with lockouts. I will have a link in the description below for a channel that shows off this stuff. That's really, really good, made by a great Glacius player. But here's another really cool setup. Summon a heavy hail. Summon a heavy hail. Do a short combo, wall splat ender, mid-screen, and you can use a hail to link into another combo, which is really, really good. I don't often do this myself. Again, I don't really use many of these tricks because I'm not good at them, as you can tell. But you can do them, and that's what I think is most important, is that they're there and that they are practical. And that's something that's really, really important. So that's about it when it comes to hail cancels. Again, there's probably a lot of cool tech you can come up with the hail cancel idea of spawning a one immediately after and then going for stuff like that. Very, very powerful. One thing I like doing when someone hits me with a combo, like let's say Thunder. So I'm just going to have him do one little combo. And basically, what I like to do when I break a combo and have Instinct is I cancel it with Instinct and then do a heavy cold shoulder into a, I'm just going to fool around with this. Do a heavy cold shoulder into a shadow hail into a hard knockdown. And the reason why I find that this is really good is that a lot of people go for combo breakers off that. So let me show you. People like to break the Shadow Hail for whatever reason, and the reason I'm trying to get a hard knockdown on. It's kind of hard. Yeah, right there. Basically, a lot of people like to break the Shadow Hail in that combo for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure why. Let me just turn off record mode. There we go. A lot of people like to break the Shadow Hail, but the reason why it's really good counterbreaker bait is because if they hit the button, like the break buttons once during that, it actually breaks all 3 times, meaning that if you see it once and you have really good reaction time, you can actually get a perfect counterbreaker, and they can't actually stop it once they start. So that's really, really cool tech that I discovered recently with K.I. Tim. Shoutouts to him. That rhymed. But now let's get into something that I think is really important for all Glacius players to do, and it's Hail Ender setup. So basically you do a Hail Ender and you summon a Hail over your head. Which strength? That's up to you, because I've got options for all three of them. So listen carefully. So if you want to do a light hail, here are your options. You can do the overhead that I showed off. Very good stuff. You can do a simple low if your opponent's not used to it by now, although most people will expect a low from Glacius. But there's two options that I think are really good. Is something I like to call the liquidized setup, which a lot of people came up with. You can actually go underneath someone after this and take advantage of the hail that's over your head and go underneath them, or not. You can fake them out. You want to release the hail like while you're like midway through, like right around there, so that people can't. The only way they're gonna get out is through like DPs or shadow projectile invincible shadow moves. But because you're already under the ground, it's not going to hit you, and you can even get like a full punish off that sometimes. It'll also catch characters like Thunder's DP and stuff like that. And make sure you mix it up. Like, don't always cross them up like this. You know, like go forward and then turn around. That's where his mix-ups really shine after a Hail Ender. So, if I don't have a ridiculous amount of potential damage stacked up on the opponent, I like to go for these setups all the time. I always love to go for Hail Ender and then go for something else. And there's one last thing I like to do with the light punch version, and it's just do a puddle punch into the light hail. And the reason why this is good is because people will try to punish your puddle punch, but then the hail will cover you. And then you can just do a meaty afterward and set up another hail like this. Wait, let me have him block so this is easier. Something like that. You see what I mean? So you can do some really, really interesting things. So let me show it off in more glory than this. And yeah, that's all the things that I can come up with off a light hail that's really effective. But what about a medium hail? What I like to do off this is a meaty into a shatter. Because your light punch button isn't covered by the hail already, now that you have a medium one, you can do a shatter. And because of that, I like to go meaty first, because a lot of people will try to grab you and stuff like that. And that keeps them from grabbing you. It makes their only option really to do like a really quick jab or a jump just to get out. So, you know, end a combo with a Hail Ender, do this, and stuff like that, go nuts. That's basically what I like to do with the medium punch. And the heavy punch is what I like to do with a grab. So here's what I mean. You can cancel the hail out of that to link for a one chance break combo like that, or even better. Whoops. That's not better. Don't use that. You can do that like I mentioned earlier. Or what was I going to do? All right, there we go. You can do an unbreakable with Shadow Shatter, which is 20% unbreakable. That's not bad. One thing I also like to do is I like to mix in a liquidize right before doing it, because a lot of people think you're going to go under them. So here's what I mean. Okay, I did that really wrong. That's what I like to... Okay, I'm really screwing up. I like to sort of start up a liquidize and then go up really fast, because it causes people to think, oh, he's got a light hail and he's going to go underneath me. But guess what? I'm not, and I'm going to grab you. That's really, really a good mind game, because a lot of people can't tell, even I can't tell, what strength the hail is. I think it might turn a different way. Like, no, I don't see it. So yeah, really good for mix-up potential and stuff like that. So if you don't have a lot of potential damage, always end the combo with a Hail Ender and go into a certain kind of hail and then do one of the options I listed for each strength. That's really, really potent, because Glacius has really good setup potential. And finally, what I want to talk about is more corner throw setups, which is kind of the same thing as Hail Ender setups, though you have more options. Basically, here's what you do. You do a throw in the corner, off anything really, even a wall spot ender, which I recommend. If you do a wall spot ender and someone's locked out, do a throw afterward before going for anything else. And what I like to do is I like to throw someone into the corner and then go for a mix-up afterward. So I can go for a manual to do a little more combo. So let me show that. Make sure to mix these up, by the way. If you're like this far away when you throw the person, your only real option for a manual is a lance. But that's easily breakable, so make sure you're ready to counter breaker against smart opponents. So you can do a manual, you can do a second throw, if you feel like being that way. Or you can go for a hard knockdown with a sweep. So let me show that. That's really good. And what you want to do after that sweep is summon a medium hail. Because medium hail is going to cover all your options. And what you can do after medium hail, well, you can do pretty much all the options I listed. You can go for a low. Or, that wasn't a low. You can go for a low. You can also go for a hard knockdown off this in the corner. Hard knockdowns off Haylanders is a really good idea in the corner because it doesn't push anyone back and it gives you a little extra damage. Although wall splat enders when you're towards the corner are just more reliable. So go for that. But you can go for a low. Why do I keep not going for lows? You can go for a low like that. You can go for the overheads, which I screwed up. There we go. You can go for an overhead after a hard knockdown. So let me try and show that off one more time. Yeah, something like that. You get what I'm doing. You can go for the puddle punch block string that I was talking about. You can do a puddle punch, make it safe, and then go for a manual for a block string. You can do another throw, and then catch them with the hail for a little unbreakable damage. You can go for a meaty to a shatter. And yeah, that's pretty much all the setups I have for Glacius. So here's my recommendation. Whenever you're doing a combo with Glacius, and you're trying to get the most damage out of it, don't always go for the damage ender. Even though it does cash out a lot of damage, don't go for it. You should go for the hail ender, and then go for one of those setups I was talking about. Like, that's really important for Glacius's game plan, because that allows him to get a lot of quick damage very, very fast. But the way you want to generally play Glacius is not to rush down. If you have the advantage on rush down, go for it. But, like, what you want to do for the majority of the match is just zone people out, especially characters like Thunder. So keep them away, use anti-airs, use hails, use shadow shatters, keep them out of there. And once you have the advantage with a hail over your head, dash in, throw the hail out to make yourself safe, and just start your offense. Make sure you're always at advantage on your offense, because if you let your offense dwindle just a bit, the opponent's going to start getting the jump on you, and Glacius can't handle that very well. Like I said, his DP is okay. It does start a combo, but it can be stuffed really easily. So Glacius does have some problems with pressure. And basically that's all the tips I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this guide. I will be making one for Cinder later down the road. But I really hope that these tips were helpful. Again, general strategy, zoning character, keep them away. But once you have the advantage, go in, go for setups, and keep your opponent guessing. Very, very good. In the description below, I have a guide by Infill, one of the community members, who's made a fantastic guide for this game that you all should look up if you're looking for general knowledge on characters. I have a link to the channel I was talking about with the guy with the Glacius tech. And I have a video with some high-level Glacius mashes to sink your teeth into to see how all these mechanics fit into place. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.